It seems an age since we were last down in Palmanova making videos, more than a month now, and a lot has actually changed in our lives. Some of them have been really big changes and life-changing changes, so it's nice to come back to Palmanova, and as we have a little walk along the front here, I'll tell you about what's been going on in our lives. It's good to see there's not been much of a change here in Palmanova. The beach is busy and the sun's out, and that's after a week when the weather's been pretty awful. For more than a week now, I think we've been having rain and storms, and it's even a bit hazy today, but it's warm. Temperature's going to be around about 30 degrees, so that's pretty normal for this time of year. It's more or less the end of September, September the 25th, I think, and we've had a really interesting year. Well, the summer was great. We had a lovely summer here in Mallorca, and we managed to get away to lots and lots of different places, made lots and lots of videos. We were really busy, and we were having a great time. But we hadn't actually been back to the UK for over a year. Last time was actually February in 2020, and we were beginning to feel that we really needed to see our family over there. So we did book a flight. The flight was actually to Manchester, and normally when I go to the UK, I firstly all go to Manchester or that area, because our family's from Stoke-on-Trent, and spend a week or so there, and then move down to the south where the rest of our family are, in Hampshire and Somerset. So that was my plan, but as I started getting closer and closer to departing, I got more and more nervous about the situation, particularly in the UK. I'm not so bothered about how it is here. Here's really good, but the UK, the numbers seem to be growing as we were getting closer and closer to our departure date. Well, I chickened out. I said to Anita, I don't think we're going to actually go to the UK, and Anita was really upset and wanting to see the children and the grandchildren. And I spotted this flight, which was actually to Southampton, which is very close to our eldest daughter. Well, that meant we didn't get the flight to Manchester, and that meant we didn't go to Stoke-on-Trent. And I don't know whether that's going to be one of the big regrets of my life, but we didn't get there. We didn't go to Stoke-on-Trent when we'd originally planned to. So we did have a great week with our eldest daughter, and a great week with our youngest daughter. And then on the day of departure to come back to Mallorca, we got all the bags packed, and we were literally just loading them into the car to go back to Bristol Airport to come back to Mallorca, when my brother phoned to say that my mother had died, and that changed everything. So we didn't get on the plane. We drove up. It took 6 hours to drive from Somerset to Stoke-on-Trent. The traffic was horrendous, and when we got there, we had well, obviously to sort everything out. It was the weekend of the bank holiday, so nothing could be done on the Saturday, nothing could be done on the Sunday, and the Monday was the holiday. So the soonest we could actually get anything done was the Tuesday morning, when we managed to make an appointment to see a solicitor and an appointment to see a funeral director. The coroner was saying there was a lot of cases, so they got a bit of a backlog, and they didn't know how long it was going to take for a death certificate to be issued, but it could be anything up to 2 weeks. So we returned to Mallorca, and I went back to work, and I must say how good my employers, the school where I work, Belvedere International School, Belvedere International College, better get that right. Better do, don't mix them up. They were really good to me, and have been all the way through this, telling me to just take whatever time I needed. Anyway, it was better actually to get back into the school, get back in front of the children, and to continue teaching. Meanwhile, my brother back in Stoke-on-Trent was liaising with the funeral directors, liaising with the coroner, and eventually we got a date for the funeral. So that meant more flights back to the UK, more COVID testing here, more COVID testing in the UK, and we went back. So Anita and I went back, and our son Adam, he came with us, and we actually flew into Birmingham Airport on this occasion. And again, I was really nervous about flying into these bigger airports where I was expecting lots and lots of people, but it was an evening flight and there weren't many people at Birmingham Airport, so it did actually feel quite safe. So we actually flew back on the Thursday evening, and the funeral was Friday morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was in a church very close to where my mother used to live. Not her church doesn't exist anymore. I'm not sure she really appreciated that things had changed and her church had closed. Her mind was not quite there. Anyway, we had a lovely service. Lots of family and friends were there to say farewell to my mum, and afterwards we all had lunch together, and it was happy. We were happy together, being together on that really sad occasion. It's a really strange feeling how you can feel happy and sad at the same time, but that's what it was. We'd had a funeral, we'd shed a few tears, we'd said bye to Mum, but we'd also seen people that we hadn't seen for many, many years, and so it felt good in that respect. We stayed till Sunday, and we came back last weekend on Sunday evening. We've been back a week. I've been back at work a week, and I suppose life's got to move on now, and here we are in Palmanova. So that's the story of the last month or so, and it will change our lives forever. I don't know how it's going to affect us yet, but it's somewhere I used to go to every summer to see my mother, and that's had to end now, and well, we'll see what happens in the future. We're actually coming round now to the second beach in Palmanova, the one that's in the middle, and there's a lot of noise coming, so there's something going on down there. Sounds like they've got a disco on the beach. I've got a few steps here. I'm just going to turn the video off while we go down the steps. Anita's just said it's getting a little bit hot. She's exactly right. It's very warm here. Plenty of people on the beach, lots of people in the sea, and I think that's where I ought to be, because it is getting very warm. And it's good to see that there are people here, but it is quiet. It's not as busy as it would normally be, I don't think. At this time of the year, the end of September 2021, is still relatively quiet. When you look at the newspapers, they do say that the number of visitors to the island is around about 60 or 70% of what the normal visitors would be through the summer, but it's all going to be a bit patchy. Just up to McDonald's area, and across the road, one of the hotels which was constantly being asked about in the summer, the Hotel Tropico, and that never actually made it. The cocktail bar is open, but the hotel itself is not open. Interesting things in the news. Please don't get confused with Palma and La Palma. La Palma is where they've got a volcano erupting, which for me as a scientist is actually quite interesting. For the people who live there, it must be quite frightening and devastating. Up till yesterday, more than 400 people have lost their homes, or 400 homes have gone, so it obviously affects a lot more people than that. So it is going to be devastating to that community. The King has visited, the Prime Minister's visited, and I'm sure they're going to get lots of aid from the Spanish government and probably from the European Union as well. But all of that remains to be seen, because it's still erupting, and the eruption of that volcano can probably go on for quite a few weeks, even months. Some scientists are saying it might not finish until December, and so we've got to keep an eye on that one. But it's La Palma, which is in the Canary Islands, not Palma, which is in the Balearic Islands, and they are a long, long way apart. So I found that interesting in the news. From a Mallorca point of view, the news has been about storms and rain and floods, and we've had plenty of those over the last few days, mostly in the north and east of the island. So a friend of mine who lives in Alcudia sent me a video of floods behind his house, and there were torrents of a waterfall coming over a wall there, and lots of water. In Santa Lucia, which is on the right hand side, the east coast of the island, they had terrible floods there, and cars were floating in the water. And elsewhere on the island, lots and lots of rain. We seem to have escaped most of the rain. We've had a little bit of rain, but nothing quite so serious. No big storms, at least not yet. And at the moment it's sort of settled down, and the temperatures have gone back up again. In the Spanish newspapers, they've always referred to it as the gota fria, the cold drop. And at the end of August, beginning of September, we always have a gota fria, and we always mark it with our eldest daughter's birthday. Whenever we had a party, we'd go down to the beach and it would start raining. Her birthday's at the end of August, and you could almost set your watch by it. But this year, or the last maybe 2 years, they've actually started referring it to Dana. And I'd originally thought that Dana was just one of the names of a storm, like they do in America and they do in England. They name a storm and they use the letters of the alphabet. So Adelaide comes first, Benjamin becomes second, and then you work your way through the alphabet as you have the storms. And so I just assumed that we'd got to Dana, and Dana was the next on the list. Apparently not. Dana is actually an acronym, and it's a scientific term, which is when hot humid air meets cold air, and that's what causes the storms. And so that's what Dana is. It's not the name of a storm, it's the name of a thing that causes the storm, and it's the same for all of the storms around this time of the year. It's warm, moist air hitting cold air, and you get a big storm. Oh, Anita's met all her friends. Oh. So all the family from across the road of us are all here. Oh, muy bien.
Sí, yo en martes.
28.
Sí, 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 sí. ¿Yo martes? ¿A 28? Sí, yo. Sí, paren. Besos, adiós. Adiós, adiós.
So, nice to see our neighbours from Genova down here on the beach.
My name's Anita, and the birthday's the same day as mine.
That's what a coincidence, another Anita with the same birthday. So yes, Anita is celebrating her birthday next week. So we've already started the celebrations. We've been out for several birthday dinners already, and we have a birthday lunch today, and there's more events to go on. But we're doing them all early because Anita's actually leaving me.
I am. I'm not sure how he's going to cope. I'm going off to England for a month for Serena's new little baby, Savannah. She's due on the 8th of October, so hopefully I'll get there to help her out. That's the plan.
So I'm going to be home alone, trying to look after myself. I'm sure I'll cope. I've got lots of friends and family who will assist me in that. So I need to leave. So we're actually in the process of going through all of these tests again. We have to do a test before we go, or Anita will have to do a test next week, an antigen test. It costs 30 euros. We have to fill in the passenger locator form, and then on top of that we have to book a test for the second day, because she's been fully vaccinated and we're coming from an amber country. Then we just need the day 2 test. So this time we've changed our provider. For the last 2 trips we've used Randox, and everything's been great. We've had no problems with Randox. The only issue with Randox is you have a drop box to put the samples in, and they can be all over the place. So on the first occasion it was a 15-minute drive to drop it off, and on the second occasion when we got to Stoke, we had to go to a rather, how shall I say, a rough area of Stoke-on-Trent. There's 1 or 2 to drop it off, but it all worked out okay, and we did manage to send them off. And actually I got my results back almost before I dropped it off, so I'm still a little bit dubious about these tests and how they're actually done. Anyway, we've chosen a new one which is called Eurofins, and it's a little bit cheaper. It was only 38 euros. Was that pounds? I'm not sure. It was 38 something euros, I think. And no, probably pounds. And that one, we chose that one because where Anita will be staying with our daughter in Yeovil, in the Asda car park there's a Eurofin station, and so all we've done is to book that. Anita will go there on the day after she arrives, and we booked an appointment to go in. They will do the test, they send it off, and it's a little bit cheaper than the Randox one, and a lot more convenient. She can actually walk there from where my daughter lives. So once she's done that, she'll be in the UK, and she's going to be staying for about a month or so. I've got to carry on working, so my working life will continue, and I will be going over for half term. So I booked my flights, got all the flights booked for half term, and we booked Anita to come back on the same flight as me. So we'll be returning to Mallorca, and hopefully we'll have a new granddaughter by then. So exciting changes. We've lost one member of the family, but we're going to be gaining another member of the family, and that's how life is, and that's what we have to accept. Just coming to the Santa Lucia hotel, so on this side of it, and every time I come to the Santa Lucia hotel, I think of one of the people who've been watching the videos almost from the start when we started them last year, and this girl was so excited about coming to the Santa Lucia for a holiday. She was writing to me to say how many days it was, and how she was looking forward to meeting us, and that she was going to be celebrating her birthday here in Mallorca, and how we could meet up and have a drink together and celebrate the birthday. And sadly it didn't happen for 2 reasons really. The original holiday was cancelled. They managed to rebook and got another one, but they had a bereavement in their family too, and so they were not able to go on the holiday. So Shauna, I'm sorry I missed your birthday, wasn't with you, and hopefully at some point in the future we'll be able to get together, and you'll be able to come to the Santa Lucia hotel, which is here, and we'll be able to celebrate your birthday last year, this year, and next year if you like. We can have lots of celebrations.
Yes, looking forward to doing that.
and thank you to Claire, Shauna's mother, for all the encouragement that she's given me over the last few weeks and months in all the problems that I've had, and the ones that she has had with her family too. And really, there has to be a really big thank you to everyone who's been watching the videos and sending messages. I've had hundreds and hundreds of messages telling me to take my time, telling me to grieve the way you should grieve, get it out of your system. And well, you never get it out of your system, do you? It just sort of mellows a little bit with time. And people still writing. Steve wrote to me this morning and said, you know, take your time, we'll still be here, we'll be able to watch your videos when you're ready. And I was really nervous coming out of the house this morning. You might not think I get nervous, but I do. And I wasn't sure what I was going to say, or whether I'd be able to say anything, or what am I going to talk about. And well, here we are in Palmanova, and if you don't talk, so that's nice. That was Pat and her husband Dave, who were here on holiday, and they're having a lovely time here at this Santa Lucia. So Shauna, it's still open, but the hotels will close here. In Magaluf, they're probably going to close at the end of September. So in Palmanova, normally the end of October, but in Magaluf, a lot of the hotels are coming together and they're going to close, at least that's what the newspapers said last week, at the end of September, which would be a month, at least a month earlier than normal. And that's not going to be the same all over the island. In places like Pagera, which cater more for the German market, but you do get British people there and Scandinavian people there, all nationalities really. But in Palmanova, in Pagera, I'll get it right in a minute. In Pagera, they're talking about trying to stay open until December, and so that'll be really interesting if that happens. It'll make Mallorca a little bit odd. You'll be able to go to somewhere like Magaluf and it'll be a ghost town, and then you'll be able to go to Pagera where it'll be holiday time. So I'm quite looking forward to seeing how that actually pans out. We'll visit both of them. We'll visit Magaluf, we'll visit Pagera, and we'll be able to do an interesting comparison about what the places actually look like. Lots of people ask me about what's the weather like. Well, what's the weather like at different times of the year? And I've just said that at the beginning of September it rains a lot. We have the storms, and then it usually settles down. It's not easy to predict exactly when it's going to settle down. Hopefully it's settled down a little bit now. And when it settles down, the temperature is usually a little bit lower. Although having said that, it's very close to about 30 degrees today. October, obviously it's going to get cooler and cooler and cooler, but October's a beautiful month. And some people are saying, well, it's half term at the end of October, what will it be like then? And I can't give any guarantees, obviously, but the weather will be pleasant. It's not going to be August, July hot, but Anita's met somebody else. But it is going to be pleasant. And I can remember I used to run the Scouts here, and so the marker I have is bonfire night in November. So as close to November the 5th as we could. It would be the weekend before, the weekend after. We always used to have a big bonfire party, and we'd raise all the money that we needed for the year in this just one event. We'd buy a lot of fireworks and have a big bonfire, and we'd get maybe 2,000 people would arrive, and they'd all pay their little bit for entrance. They'd buy some hot dogs, they'd buy some drinks, and that would give us all the money we needed to run the Scouts for the year, pretty much. And that was November, and my memory is setting it all up, having just a t-shirt on, and I've got very clear memories of that year after year. So the end of October, beginning of November, it is really quite pleasant in the daytime. At night it gets a lot cooler, and I have other memories of attending things like parties at the end of October for Halloween, and coming out in the evening and it being very, very cold. I've got this feeling I've seen ice or, you know, sort of frosty type things in there. That's not normal, but it can get quite cold in the evening. So if you are coming at the end of October, then yeah, you need your things for sitting on the beach or sitting by the pool, but you also need a jumper and something to keep you warm in the evening if you're going to have a stroll in the evening or sit out by a bar. So, Anita's just catching up with me. She's met a friend.
I've seen Faye from school. I think we should have a coffee somewhere, darling. It's too hot.
Coffee always sounds like a good idea. It's just afternoon, 12:10, and we are going out for lunch at 1:30. So we've not got a lot of time actually. We've got to get back to the car to go back for lunch. And we're going for lunch in Palma. We're going for an Indian lunch today with some friends, and it's part of the birthday celebrations.
And here's the other one. This is my new phone here.
Anita, for her birthdays, has a new phone.
Bubblegum blue.
And the last one actually exploded yesterday. Quite literally. The back had popped off the phone, and when I had a look inside, the battery had actually blown up like a balloon. And me, being a scientist and a chemist, thought, ooh, well, that sounds exciting. It's probably hydrogen gas that's been produced. What I wasn't expecting was, because I punctured it, I got a pair of compasses out at the sharp point, and as soon as the point went through, sparks appeared. It actually, the reaction was so hot. Yeah. So all the advice that they give you about being careful with those batteries, not putting them near to fires, yeah, take notice, because it's correct. You shouldn't do that. I have a lot of experience with dangerous things, so it's one of the things I do. Always at a safe distance, always taking the right precautions. Getting towards the end of the Santa Lucia beach now, and it's a Saturday as well, so you have to take that into consideration when you look at how many people are here, because Saturday local people come down as well. Not sure how it would be on a weekday, Monday to Friday, when you're not getting so many locals or children who are at school. Starting back to school has been great this year. Spoke to some of the children, and out of one of my classes, the year 10 class for example, well over half, 3/4 of them I think, have already had their vaccination. And one girl told me she'd had a second vaccination on Thursday, I think it was. So vaccinations for children have progressed very rapidly here. Something like 60-70% of them have had at least one vaccination. Vaccinations for the general public, 80% more or less have been vaccinated now. And here in Mallorca we're getting very few cases. It's almost disappeared on the island, so much so in fact that on Monday it's expected, according to the newspapers, that we will actually, I think we're going to have to head back now, but it's in the newspapers they're saying that we will go to the next phase, which is more or less the end of all the sanctions that we've had. So from Monday, they think that the number of people being able to sit at tables in restaurants is going to increase, possibly eliminated. I think we'll probably still have to wear masks in enclosed places. And one interesting one was the smoking ban. Lots of people I've seen asking, can you smoke, where can you smoke? You're not allowed at the moment to smoke inside any public premises. And if you're in a restaurant, you're not even allowed to smoke on the terrace. You have to leave the restaurant Now, the article I read this morning said that's likely to remain, and not remain just for the present, but forever. And that cheered me up, because I'm very much anti-smoking, and I know a lot of you do smoke out there, but it's bad for you. Take it from me. And anything that helps to discourage it has got to be good for your health and everybody else's health. So I, for one, welcomed when the bars were told they couldn't have smokers inside, and I also welcomed it when they said that bars couldn't have smokers on the terrace. Yes, dear?
Shall we go that way?
We'll go this way. Get a little bit of shade. So this is one of the successes of COVID. It used to be Costa Coffee, and Costa Coffee disappeared, and over several months actually this was ripped down and built back up again, and is now Ciso Beach, which is a very popular situation. It's got a beautiful view out there, and so we've been there. We had a great meal. It was very crowded though. That was earlier on in the summer.
Let's try it again.
We will try it again, and things have calmed down a little. So we're actually going to go back. Oh, that's gone cool. We've just gone into the shade and the temperature's dropped tremendously. It's beautiful. Here's a coach going by. That's a good sign that there are tourists still on the island, taking them backwards and forwards to the airport and on their various trips. Another place people were asking about was this Viceroy. Doesn't look as though it ever actually opened, but there was potential, and it's not disappeared, it's still there, and so we'll wait and see what happens to the Viceroy. So Monday should give us some interesting news on what the new restrictions are going to be, but the general feeling is there are going to be less restrictions. And our life will become a little bit freer. As far as the UK is concerned, Anita's going back next week, so she still has to do the pre-test, which is an antigen test. She still has to have the day 2, which is a PCR test. But that is going to change in October, when they do away with this traffic light system and everything becomes either red or not red. So if it's red, then you've still got to do all the serious stuff like going into hotels and having your tests, and it is going to be really expensive. It's something like £2,000, which seems a lot of money to me. And for us, coming from Mallorca, which is a very, very safe place, incredibly safe, we will no longer have to do the test before we leave, the antigen test. So that will save me €30 when I go back at the end of October. But at the moment, the government in the UK have typically not been very clear about what's happening. After that, they did suggest that the PCR test might go, or it might change to an antigen test, which again is cheaper in the UK, but they really can't be very clear about it. The government in Spain, in my opinion, has been much clearer in explaining how things are going to happen, what's going to happen, and they've not flip-flopped backwards and forwards saying what's going on. So they've always told you, and they've stuck to it, and that's been the same all the way through. There's been very gentle easings. Every 2 or 3 weeks they would announce a slight easing, and everybody knew what was going on, what was expected, and so we've felt as though we've been kept in the loop. Whereas when I listen to the news, and maybe I'm not getting all the news that you're getting when you're in the UK, but I just have this general feeling that they go from one problem to another, and it's more of a like patching up things that have already happened, or they're giving in to some pressure group, and I'm not actually taking control. So this take back control seems to be, well, we'll do whatever we want to, and we'll try and please everybody, when it may have been better to have not please everybody, but to actually put a firm hand down and said, this is what you should have done. When I looked at the statistics, the world statistics for COVID last week, I can't remember what day it was, Tuesday or Wednesday, the UK had the second worst number of cases in the world. There was only one country with worse statistics, and that was America, the United States of America. But when you look at the numbers in the population, then the UK was by far the worst. And the UK really does seem to be in a very bad situation at the moment, with huge numbers of cases every day. And if you just look at the other countries, particularly here in Europe, which have got similar sort of situations, they seem to be far worse off. And there may be factors that are controlling that, things like testing. It may be that they're testing more. I don't know. I do know that my grandson is now isolating. He's only recently gone back to school. And they're only just getting going with vaccinating children. It's still a bit of a debate whether that's the right thing to do or not, because you're not vaccinating them to protect them from the disease, you're vaccinating the children to protect old people like us. Here's Lady Di's, which sadly never opened. There is a Lady Di on the beach, Diana Beach Bar, which is across the road there. Chinese has always been open. The Diana Beach Bar is also open, so so they're not completely disappeared. Just coming up to the park, and the children can play. A bit hot for park still. There's the Diana Beach Bar. Across the road there we've got the Gelasius, which is really nice, and just behind that is Barbuda, which we walk past when we were along the front. It's one of the places we like to go. Monroe's over here, one of the places that hasn't got going this year. I think everybody now is praying that 2022 is a bit different. Taylor's, that's been open all the way through, so that's hopefully done quite well. And all the usual shops. A lot of people during the summer were telling me that they'd eventually decided to cancel their 2021 trip and postpone it till 2022. And I must say that if I was in your situation, I think maybe that's maybe what I would have done. Although having a staycation in the UK probably would have cost you a similar amount, and you might not have got the weather. When we go to England, we don't really go for the weather. We enjoy the weather, it's nice, but we go to see family, so the weather isn't quite so high on our agenda. We had some nice days, and we did manage to get out. And we made lots of videos in the UK while we were there, of all the different places that we went to. One that was particularly popular was Weymouth, another seaside resort, I suppose, a bit like Palmanova, but absolutely nothing like Palmanova. Very busy beach, and one thing we did notice while we were in the UK was the complete, almost complete lack of any protection that people were wearing. People didn't wear masks at all in the street, where you see people here in the street still wearing masks. Mostly not here because it's foreigners, but if you're in Palma, you'll see a lot of people will wear masks. Here's one of the COVID test centres, just across from the Calablanca. But in the UK, when you go into places, you go into the supermarkets, people were not wearing masks. So I guess not surprising that the virus is spreading a little bit more easily. Banana Joe's over there. That didn't open. We're not going to walk up there because we've got to get back to our car, because we've got to get home, get changed, so we can go out for our lunch. It's the children's park, it's where we bring our grandchildren. Nice place to visit, and everything's open there now. The man in front of us with the high-vis top on is Ora, O-R-A, and that's about parking. If you are parking in Calgary area, you have to pay and display, and if you don't, you get your parking ticket. That will end at the end of October. Well, at least that's what normally happens. So normally at the end of October, they cover up the parking meters, and through the winter we don't have to pay for parking. There's a lot less cars around, so it's not so much pressure. Coming towards the end of our walk, and can't finish off without mentioning football. Real Mallorca started the season really well in La Liga. They've been promoted to the Spanish Premier Division, the first division, and the first few games went really well. We were winning some, drawing some, and we're near the top. And on Wednesday, reality hit. On Wednesday night, Real Mallorca set off for Madrid, where they were playing Real Madrid, Spain's elite team. And it didn't start too well, because after just 2 minutes or so, the champions scored, and it was 1-0 to Madrid. Score didn't stay at 1-0, it soon went to 2-0, but Mallorca did score, and a really good goal from our Korean player. And don't ask me to pronounce it because I haven't quite. Say that again?
Keelangin.
Keelangin, right. So he scored a brilliant goal. So that was the positive side. But Real Madrid didn't give in. They've got a player called Marco Asensio, and Marco Asensio is Mallorquin. He used to play for Real Mallorca, and he got his hat-trick on Wednesday evening, scoring 3 goals for Real Madrid against his old teammates. And Manolo Reina, our goalkeeper, was picking the ball out of the net more than he's done probably ever in his career, actually. It ended up, I don't know if I dare say this, it ended up 6-1. Mallorca lost 6-1, and hopefully the team didn't come back too demoralised. They played well, they just not good enough at that level yet. There's a lot got to change in order to be able to compete on that level. So I think we've got to expect scores like this occasionally. Just last year, was it? I can't remember. But the last time I saw Real Madrid play in Mallorca, Mallorca actually won. So in recent times, we have actually beaten Real Madrid, but we simply weren't good enough on Wednesday. And part of that was due to a number of injuries, playing some B team players, and the thought that that maybe we're not going to win that match, and we need to save our best players for the ones that we can win. And they're playing again tomorrow, Sunday. They're playing Osasuna, and that is a game that potentially we could win, so long as they're not too demoralised and they go for it. And hopefully we can pick up some points there. So I think that was probably going through the manager's mind, that he wanted to save some of the team so that we could actually win in the matches that we are supposed to be winning in. It's strategic, it's the way that the modern game is, and let's just hope that by the end of this season, Real Mallorca are above that relegation zone and can stay in the La Liga for another season and build on the team that they've got. We do have some what look like really exciting players. There's one from Japan who causes great excitement in Japan. All our matches, some of our matches are actually being rescheduled so that they are at prime time in Japan. So Take Kubo is being keenly watched. Plays for the Japanese national team, and he's only young, so he was actually playing in the Olympics. Another player that looks really exciting is called Nino, and I've only seen him play a little bit, but looks like we've got some really good young players in the team now, and our manager's got to build up around that. Just coming past McDonald's, where we won't be going. To our horror, our absolute horror, our daughter said she'd been to McDonald's to buy something for our granddaughter. Anita said, "What?" And I said, "What?" There you go. Actually, we did.
So it's a punishment rather than a reward.
We did, when our children were younger, we did used to take them occasionally to McDonald's, and the thing I liked about McDonald's here is the coffee was quite good. It wasn't great, but it was quite good, and they sold beer. So while the children were having their, whatever it was, the McNuggets, I could have a pint. So that was one of the good things about McDonald's. But having said that, in recent years it's not a place we've visited at all. My battery's getting very low. I've got some an ambulance down the road. Everyone's okay. I haven't got time for Anita to have a look in the clothes shop. That actually looks very nice. I think that's one I quite like, that one. She also likes the perfume shops. Coming up to Ciro's restaurant. I've been there for a while. Across the road we do have an ambulance, and it's Clínica Balear. Now, if you are taken ill here, there are a lot of private hotels, and if you've got your holiday insurance, that's fine. If you don't have holiday insurance, it is going to be expensive. So just a word of warning, if you're taken to a private hospital, you need to make sure that you've got insurance. If you're taken to a state hospital, from what I've been reading, if you still have your European health card, EPIC, that seems as though it may still be accepted. I'm not guaranteeing that though. And Boris did promise a GHIC, was it? A global health insurance card. I've not actually seen one of those yet, and don't know exactly how that would work. But the implication being that it should cover in a state hospital in the country where you're staying. So it will depend on what cover there is. The Spanish National Health Service is amazing. It is really good. I don't know if that's because we're in the Balearic Islands and we just simply have better facilities, or whether it's general over the whole of Spain. But here in Spain, it's been really good. They've obviously struggled over the last year and a half with the situation, but it is really good. So if you end up in a Spanish National Health hospital here in Mallorca, then you can feel really safe. Just across the road, Portugal, and Max in there. So many places that we haven't been to yet, and well, our life's in front of us. Some amazing yachts out on the sea, by the way, really big ones. This is the Can Blanc. Oh, we just had a little battery malfunction there. Well, it wasn't malfunction, it had actually run out. So I did all the video up to here on one battery, so that's quite good. And luckily we're near the end anyway, and we'll just close the video off where we started, which is this memorial heart overlooking the little port here in Palmanova. It's been great to have a walk in Palmanova, having not been here for such a long time. For those of you who've managed to stay the distance and have been watching the video up till now, thank you, very well done. At the beginning I didn't think I'd got anything to say, and I've managed to talk my way through quite a long time. I don't know how long this video is. He's done a very
good job as usual.
It's going to be a long video, but you know, you can always pause it and catch up later. And my daughter this morning said, you haven't made a video for ages, it's time you made a video, so here it is. And she can sit back or do her work while she's watching one of our videos. And here we are at the heart, look. And that's the port of Palmanova. Anita's done 6,700 steps, so I guess I've done a similar.
Every one of them, I think. I'm really hot.
And we're going off to lunch, but thank you very much for watching. Thank you for all the support you've given us over the last few weeks, and we'll carry on making the videos. We won't be making as many because I'm back at work now, so the videos are more or less at the weekend. And I'm in England. And Anita's going to England, so I'm like, I'll do all these walks on my own. Yeah. All right, okay. And hopefully I'll be able to do that. And we'll see you in the next video.
Thank you. Lovely to be back. Bye.
Bye for now.